Hey everybody, what's going on? And welcome to Guns N' Roses Central, and let's talk about today's news. So before we get started with today's news, let's talk about the poll I had up on my Twitter page for which episode you guys want to see of Guns N' Roses True Story. So we have 4 songs, Bad Apples, Garden of Eden, Sympathy for the Devil, and Don't Damn Me. So this poll was up for about a week, and at the beginning it was pretty close, and then Don't Damn Me ran away with it. I'm actually kind of surprised that the singles didn't do a bit better, but I think next time I do a poll, I'm going to have to make the song choices much harder. But you guys now know that Don't Damn Me is going to be the next song featured on Guns N' Roses True Story. And if you guys missed my video from yesterday or a couple days ago, you would know that I'm going to be doing a True Story episode about the St. Louis riot. That one clocks in about almost an hour long. That was a very long episode to film, but I think there's going to be some really cool stuff that maybe you guys didn't know about the St. Louis riot. But without further ado, guys, let's get started with this week's Guns N' Roses news. So I think some of the biggest Guns N' Roses news this week is that it was announced that Marvel Comics was going to be honoring Nirvana, Guns N' Roses, and more with new comic book covers. So the famed comic publisher had previously transformed artworks by the likes of Kanye West, Frank Ocean, and Beyonce, but now it looks like Nirvana and Guns N' Roses are amongst the iconic bands to be honored with tribute comic book covers by Marvel in the coming months. So Marvel will honor rock bands for the first time this autumn with new variant covers with classic album artworks from the likes of Nirvana and GNR. And so Nirvana's classic Nevermind and Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction will be honored along with The Clash's London Calling and Blondie's Parallel Lines. So these are the pictures of the actual comic book covers you guys can see. I used to read a lot of Marvel comic books back in the day. A lot of Spider-Man, X-Men. I don't really read them anymore. I've got those comic books sitting somewhere and maybe they're worth something. But let me know what your guys' thoughts are. Do you guys read Marvel comic books? Are you going to buy the ones with the Appetite for Destruction logo, or at least the Appetite for Destruction replication on the front cover? Let me know. Let's go on to the next news story. Now, one of the Guns N' Roses opening acts throughout Europe has been Royal Blood. They're going to be opening some shows in North America as well. And they were being interviewed, and they talked about meeting iconic grunge singer at Guns N' Roses show. So the person who was doing the interview asked them, "You're supporting Guns N' Roses on some of their dates on their Night in This Lifetime tour, and you recently supported them at Slane Castle. What's it like opening for such a legendary band?" And they said those shows are massive, and that band is like on another level. So huge. I think we played to 80,000 people or something. It really is kind of mental. Getting in front of those people is kind of weird because they aren't your fans. They're there to see Guns N' Roses. You play it like a different game. It's great to have the opportunity, particularly at Slane Castle, as we've always wanted to play there. We're obsessed with the Red Hot Chili Peppers live DVD from Slane, so it was some moment for us. Plus, we got to say hi to Mark Lanigan, and that was pretty wild. I'm a huge fan, and he's a really nice guy. So staying on the topic of reading, it looks like there's a new Guns N' Roses book that's available now from Backbeat Books. So the title of the book is called Guns N' Roses FAQ, or Frequently Asked Questions. All That's Left to Know About the Bad Boys of Sunset Strip. It's by Rich Weidman, and it basically charts the amazing journey of the seminal record, Appetite for Destruction, and the band behind it. So from the guitars of the West Hollywood to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, from Appetite to the Spaghetti Incident, the book is 400 pages of hedonistic nihilism, a salacious debauchery, and raw, unadulterated rock are basically guaranteed to turn your head, blow out your eardrums, and obliterate your comfort zone and leave you begging for more. At least that's what the press statement says. And it was written in Backbeat's popular FAQ format. So I've never read any of these guys' books before, but it basically breaks the band's history into a series of chapters equally suitable for a straight-through read or a place meal consumption. So Weidman's book features a treasure trove of facts, trivia, stories, photographs that touch on every topic imaginable, and some of the subjects that are explored include the band's earliest influences, venues, most notorious concerts, opening acts, highlights from their seemingly endless Appetite for Destruction and Use Your Illusion tours, bizarre TV experiences like the time they destroyed this set of MTV's Headbangers Ball, public and private feuds, music videos, best and worst covers, and much more. So it looks like the book charts the rise of the band all the way until the 2016 Not in This Lifetime tour. So Amazon.com does have it up for sale. You can buy just the paperback version. Unfortunately, there's no e-reader version, which I like to prefer sometimes. It's listed for $13.59. Original list price is $20, but you can save 32% if you buy it now, at least on this date. There is one review available for the book. Now, I don't know if it's a legitimate review or not. It seems like just the way it reads, it's kind of maybe somebody close to the author who wrote it. And I see it's also selling on the Canadian version of Amazon, and it's considerably more expensive. It's almost 30 bucks Canadian, which, you know, I don't know if I'm going to pick it up yet. Maybe I'll wait till the price drops a bit. But if you guys are interested in getting the book, let me know. Or if you've read it, comment down below and let me know how it is. So I want to talk about a news story that fell under the radar, and maybe it's more of a lighter news story. So Guns N' Roses, as you guys know, played 2 shows in London in the past week or so, and apparently a British pie shop was actually in the news. So apparently the Guns N' Roses crew were big fans of this pie shop. So it's called Pieberry Corner. It has shops in Holloway Road and King's Cross, and it had the band and its production staff loaded on the pie train, according to the article. So owners Paul and Nikki Campbell sent 75 pies to the former Olympic Stadium in Stratford, and every single one of them was demolished. Not bad going for a band famous for its outrageously fussy writers. So one of the owners said the Guns N' Roses roadie is an Arsenal fan, so obviously knew about the Pieberry Corner. And funnily enough, their production manager is an American Tottenham fan. They wanted pie and mash because they were in London, and the roadie suggested Pieberry Corner was the place to go. They came to our King's Cross shop and collected 75 pies from us. I asked them if the band was going to be eating them, and they promised the pies would definitely be offered. They said Axl Rose likes the cheeseburger. They also said, I got a text from the roadie after the show saying all 75 pies had gotten eaten, so hopefully the band had a few of them. Not that feeding one of the biggest rock and roll bands of all time was that much of a big deal for the shop. It's got plenty of rock stars pretty pied up in the past. Stone Roses singer Ian Brown has had some of the pies delivered a couple of years ago, while Primal Scream's Bobby Gillespie is a regular at the shop. And Andy Bell, the former Oasis bassist, regularly DJs on Arsenal match days. So the article also came up with top 5 Guns N' Roses pie puns. And let's see what they have come up with. And if you guys have any, comment down below and let me know what your pie puns are. So instead of dust and bones, they got crust and bones. Instead of you're crazy, they've got your gravy. Instead of sweet child of mine, they got savory child of mine. Out to get meat and potatoes, and live and let pie. So let me know what your guys's are. Comment down below. Let's go into our next news story. So this is some cool nostalgic footage from pay-per-view from 1992. So as you guys remember, Guns N' Roses played Paris back in 92 as part of their summer Europe tour. And if you guys ever, watch pay-per-view, they have those previews that they try to entice you with to buy the actual show. So they have one for Guns N' Roses that somebody uploaded, and it's kind of funny. It was 25 bucks to watch Guns N' Roses in Paris, back 25 years ago, which is really expensive for pay-per-view shows. I mean, you can get tickets for probably, if you went to the show and you were in Paris, it's probably around the same price, I imagine. But if you guys want to go check it out, there is some pro shop footage that you guys maybe have seen before on MTV, or maybe you haven't. So I've linked to that down below. And with Guns N' Roses playing Poland this past week, Slash took some time out to actually sign a guitar for charity. So here's a quick picture of the guitar that he actually signed. And with Guns N' Roses in Poland, Slash was able to receive a new bike actually from a company called Mad Bicycles. It's just amazing, looked like his guitar body with snakes. While we're on the topic of Poland still, I want to thank one of my subscribers, I hope I'm saying her name right, Marzana, went to the concert in Poland, and it seemed like the concert itself was really good from her review, but it was just the logistics of everything that seemed like it was kind of a mess. And she said that she actually had a Welcome to the Jungle VIP ticket, and it wasn't worth the money. She said there were delays and misunderstandings by the gates. It also appears that Live Nation sold too many tickets for the same seat, so basically people were fighting over the places. There was also too many people on the platforms, and they weren't sitting as if they were supposed to. She said people were all over the place, and security couldn't handle it at all. Golden Circle was like 2/3 of standing area, and this was probably the first concert that they weren't selling beer at all, which is kind of surprising because, I mean, like, pretty much every concert I've been to, I've always seen alcohol served. There sometimes are, like, restrictions where I think I've seen, like, you can't take the alcohol with you into the actual arena, even though they give it to you in, like, a plastic cup. I think there's some concerts where they just don't let you do that. The other thing she mentioned, which kind of surprised me, was that toilets were not even inside the venue. If you had to use the washroom, you had to go outside the venue. And the Welcome to the Jungle ticket that she had basically consisted of a stage tour, and the open bar was like a few still water bottles and Coca-Cola. And one of the things she mentioned, which I didn't know before, was that apparently Guns N' Roses was really popular even as far as back as the 90s. But, as you know, Guns N' Roses never played Poland back during the Use Your Illusion tour. They were supposed to play Russia back in 1993, but because of the political instability going on, they ended up canceling that concert. And then we've got a photo of Axl with some fans while Guns N' Roses were going through Europe. And then this is just a really cool shot of one of their gigs they played in the last week or so. The other piece of news I want to talk about is that Sweet Child of Mine, the music video, just surpassed 500 million views on YouTube. So I think Sweet Child of Mine is probably the second most watched Guns N' Roses video. I know November Rain is getting really close to hitting 1 billion views right now. And for you guys who are Revolver fans, there's a special I found on YouTube. It's of when Guns N' Roses were playing a festival in Europe, and there's some interview footage spliced in with some performance footage. And they interview pretty much everyone from Velvet Revolver minus Scott Weiland. And the topic of Axl comes up. They talk a bit about Chinese democracy and how Slash is happy that he can just tour whenever he wants now. Whereas with Axl, back then there were some things when he didn't want to do, and that the other band has sort of was disappointed they couldn't go out and play more shows. So I've linked to that down below. And I also want to thank one of my subscribers, Barbara, for sending me these photos from the John Varvatos store. So looks like she went to the actual store in London when they had the pop-up event. These are just some of the photos that she took and sent to me. So I just want to thank her for sending me that and allowing me to actually use the photos as well. And I want to thank Tim for sending me this. So during one of the shows that Guns played this past week in Europe, it looked like Richard Fortus was actually wearing a GoPro. So it kind of felt like watching the Dead Horse video a bit. So there's a little snippet on Facebook I've linked to down below where you can actually see them playing It's So Easy. It's only like a 20 or 30 second long clip, but it's pretty cool to see that kind of angle from the stage. And then finally, I want to thank Carlos for sending me this. So this is a newish / interview. This is actually from 2010, but it was actually uploaded this week. So the YouTube channel Banger uploaded. So the guy who's actually interviewing Slash, you might seem familiar to you. If you guys watch VH1, there was a really great series they did a couple of years ago, which I wish was easy to find online. Maybe if you guys know where it is, you can let me know. It was called, I think, The Evolution of Metal. So this guy went through like the history of metal music. He had all these famous musicians interviewed. He really did a fantastic job. And I think he also appeared on Eddie Trunk's show, that metal show when it was still on the air, and talked a bit about it. But if you guys want to see the interview with Slash, I've linked to it down below. So that basically does it for this week's Guns N' Roses news. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Let me know your comments down below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the contents of the video. And be sure to subscribe if you love Guns N' Roses as much as I do. And follow me on Facebook and Twitter. My links to my social media channels are down below. Thanks for watching, guys, and hope you guys have a good week.